Hey guys, welcome back to another week in review. It's going to be kind of short today, but I did want to review this past week, like last week, not, today and yesterday. Um, Things are going really well. I've got some videos coming out. I'm trying to get into more of like a regular video rhythm, now that my major house projects are kind of slowing down a little bit. I'm still going to have these major house projects. It's just one of those things that need to get done. I've been neglecting a lot of large things since I had been working like nonstop at FedEx and I just been exhausted. So now that there's no FedEx and things are reasonably slow, I can get some of those things done. So that's why there's been kind of like an off and on video posting schedule. So I do want to get to kind of like in more like in a better rhythm. Here, I'm just holding the camera. So, and part of that, like the rhythm of the, posting videos has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with not only my availability, but also Revan's availability. Well, I mean, not really. Revan's just available whenever, but basically the weather. If it's too cold, I'm not going to work him. I'm not going to do videos. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to go there, check his blanket, do a little bit of a groom, kiss him, feed him some treats, and then put him back out because it's just too exhausting to try to do anything for both of us. So, and if it's raining and, I might do a grooming thing, but it's, as, any horse person knows, it can be kind of difficult working with horses outside. So it has a lot to do with that. So like, if I can't get a new fundamentals video out, it's usually because of the weather in Indiana. So, or a combination of the weather, my availability, etc., etc., etc. So, thanks for kind of sticking with it, guys, for like the 30 of you that watch this vlog. But I do appreciate every single one of my subscribers. So all of you guys, I do appreciate all of you guys. So anyway, for those of you who do watch this vlog on a regular basis, I want to ask you a pretty serious question. Are you interested in me doing a bit of research? And I will do as much research as I can on this if you guys are interested. And also kind of post this for those who don't watch this vlog in the little like community area. But if you guys are interested, I will look into this new legislation that's going on with the Horse Protection Act. Right now it has to do with shows, but in the Tennessee walking industry, which they've been dealing with this Horse Protection Act for a number of years, it's kind of come down to getting into individual barns. So like, they've offered the government has offered a $10,000 reward to stable hands that report abuse, which is kind of insane. It's like, it could be a good thing, but it will turn into like, oh, I just want my $10,000, so I'll just say this person doing this thing, which isn't really abuse, I'll report them into the USDA, and then now you have a full-on investigation, and then you got this owner's like, I didn't do anything wrong, and then the government's like, I don't believe you. So that can turn bad pretty quick. So we'll see how that works out for them. But this is going to affect every single person that shows. So that's a lot of people. I know Colton Woods has already done a few videos on this and has mentioned a few things, but if you wanted me to look into this in a dressage, like English riding kind of perspective, like go through every one of the little lines that says, this is what you can do, can't do, this is what the inspections are like, blah, blah, blah. And to kind of give you guys an idea of like what we're looking at here and see if you guys can't like, if you're like, no, this is way too subjective, which it is extremely subjective. And I am all for horse welfare and everything because there's a ton of things that can be changed for the better. But the problem with this Protection Act is that it was written by people who don't want horses to be pets, essentially, at all. They don't want horses around, and like the head of the Humane Society basically is a guy that doesn't own cats or dogs or animals, and he literally stated in one of his speeches that he's like, we can get pets out of American homes within 1 generation. Like, they don't want us to be doing anything with horses, whether or not, like, positive, negative, anything. So that's the danger with this, because it's so general, and like, Western justice is over on it. Like, I don't agree with everything that Western justice agrees with. Like, they're still defending rodeos, which I don't really agree with. But here, this is what we got here, because the subjective nature of all of this is going to attack the low-hanging fruit, the actual people who are abusing horses. But then it's going to come for the rest of us. Those people, all of us, even if we're like doing liberty or not, it's like, we're not even touching the horse. They're like, oh, it's mental soaring or something. So that's the problem. It's just going to get worse and worse until somebody says something about it. But if you think that getting a petition together or just going to the Western Justice site, any ideas are, I'm all for it. I don't necessarily like the idea of showing, but this is like any horse event. So like, this is horse sales, horse anything. Horse demos, which I'm kind of like into, doing the fun demos. So it has everything to do with that. So let me know if you guys want me to look into that for you, so that I can kind of give a simplified overview on what this legislation is about, and then you can have some information that you can bring to your senator if you're interested. And then, like I said, for Indiana residents, I can kind of put together a petition on this, I guess. Like, hey, at least let's get some actual, less general, like, let's get some sort of like actual guidelines, like this, and this. Check, 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 check. I'm good. Like, when I go to the, when you take your horse to the USDA inspector, will you know that you're going to pass inspection? Right now, as it stands, nobody knows, because a horsefly can land on a horse and they're like, doesn't pass, you can't show. It's so subjective that it's subjective to the person or the veterinarian that is, inspecting the horse. And mind you, these veterinarians aren't necessarily, like, it's a flip of a coin whether or not you're going to get a veterinarian that's actually a large animal veterinarian. Like, the Tennessee walking horse community has had USDF veterinary inspectors that weren't even licensed. Like, there was this one lady that was hired, and she lost her license in small animal. Like, she wasn't even allowed to practice, and the government hired her. So, like, and in small animals, so, like, they're, it's gotten pretty ridiculous. So if you want me to do an actual, like, deep dive video on this, I'm all for it. Let me know if it would be of any interest, because I would be spending a lot of time researching this, and I want to know whether or not anyone's interested in this. So please let me know. But otherwise, everything's pretty good, straightforward. Revan's going to be getting, fully backed. Like, he can be ridden on a walk, but he still doesn't know, like, what it means to ask for a trot. So now that he's 5.5, we're getting to that point where it's like, all right, now we can get into some serious training. Now we've been doing groundwork this entire time, and it's time, because I want him to gradually get into it. It's going to be pretty low impact for a long time, but 5.5 is the time. So I'm excited. Which you'll see that in the fundamentals. So mind you, every riding thing that you see in fundamentals coming up is fresh. So please be kind. Like, I am presenting a horse that is also just learning these fundamentals. I am not presenting a horse. I'm presenting my knowledge as legit and as my experience, but mind you, Revan, my horse, is not as experienced. So I'm not just going to present to you fundamental things that are like, oh, this horse has been doing this for years and this is the perfect way to do it. And I might do that later. I might do that kind of like a review thing that's like, okay, now that the horse knows it, this is the ideal and this is what it's supposed to look like we've been kind of doing with groundwork, because he's had 4 years into groundwork already. But now with riding, we're gonna see it, and it's gonna be, I don't want to say messy, because when people say messy, it generally means like they're gonna like beat their horse. That's not true. That's not gonna be a thing for us, but just saying, it's gonna be fun. So yeah, but let me know. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week.